welcome. Thank you for joining us today. We're going to do a short little demo of what it is to set up a data casting unit. Thank you, John, for opening your library to us, because we're creating a digital library for families. We're doing it using this little device, which is called a data casting receiver, and I'll explain what it is and what it isn't. The first thing that it is a little box that gets TV broadcast signals, but those signals are sending internet content onto the box. It's designed to help families who don't have internet capable of downloading videos or big files or things like that. People have misunderstood this to be a Wi-Fi enhancer. It does nothing to your Wi-Fi signal. So if you've got a hotspot that's working, great. It's not going to work any better once you do this. But if your hotspot can't pull down an instructional video that your kid is supposed to be working with, it'll already be here, because this is refreshed 24/7. Content is being put on here 24/7, and there's enough room on here for all the content we want. But the way we're actually using it, and the way I'd like you to be thinking of it as a curator, this has become our own cable TV station. We have our own channel right now, and we can put what we think will be beneficial for families on it. So first thing I want to show you is how you set it up. It comes out of the box like this. You just saw that. And in the other box, it has a couple things in it. There's a power supply that goes into the black thing, goes with the black thing, but here's the antenna. And it has a cable on it, which goes into, how would you like to set that up for me, Miles? It goes right into the back there, just like Miles is doing. You take this antenna, it doesn't matter what side you show it out your window, but right behind me is the transmitter on the mountain in Taos. So we have a map that will show you where that is. You want to look at your house in terms of the relationship to where that tower is to your house. You want to find a window that's pointing towards that, stick this in the window, and at that point it will connect to channel 15 if you're in Taos, channel 35 if you're in Albuquerque, and almost everywhere else. And then you'll start to see this progress bar where it starts loading. Don't watch the bar, because you'll be watching it for 3 to 5 hours. What you should do is, once you see that bar is working, I wouldn't say go to the bar, but you should, once you see that bar is working, what you should do is you should come back the next morning. And just like the cobbler's elves, you'll find that all of that content is in there. So does that make sense so far? I know, Miles, you've worked with some families and you tried it yourself. What's the difficulty that you saw with this?
Finding the right tower.
Being able to know where to position.
Knowing where to position it.
And you did finally get it working in your office, right?
I got it to work in my office.
That's great. That's great. So Gladys, we have put these out to many families, and one of the things we found early was that if we get all the instructions in English, that's a problem. So what have you done?
I translated during this winter vacation. I did the translation, and it was a learning experience for me, because I didn't know that the technological words in Spanish or English. Therefore, it was like getting a career, but it was easier when we had the meetings with the families and we distributed the receivers and instructions. However, like you said, there's a lot of misunderstandings, and families are
So
okay.
if I may take this, I just want to show that this is the book that Gladys has provided that will go to every family. So when they get the boxes with the equipment in it, they also get all the information that they need in English and Spanish. And of course, this video is going to be very helpful too, because when you see it done, these writing things make sense. But until you see it done, you're having to use a lot of your imagination. So I think anybody have any more questions about how you set this up? Does that look fairly straightforward? You got to be patient. How long might you have to wait, do you think?
6 hours?
Could be 6 hours.
Or
Hopefully, well, it could be less, but yeah, 6 hours would be the outside, I hope, on this stuff. Now, in the event that it doesn't work, because these antennas work where there's a good line of sight, but in Taos there are a lot of mountains, there's a lot of trees, there's a lot of depressed, areas, arroyos, other places like that. The topography can make it so that this antenna is not strong enough. There's a bigger antenna that we have, and we have a lot of them available. We have people down at KNME and at MPBS in Albuquerque who will come up to Taos and install a rooftop antenna if that's what they need. And like we said earlier, Miles, this is a big hill to climb, but you only have to climb it once. So once you get it working, it works 24/7. There is no charge, there's no cost, no monthly fee, and the content that's put on here is going to be largely, when we talk about a digital library, it's going to be things that the community wants to see. So what is going to be engaging for families, especially this summer? What are things they could do with their kids? And the two most exciting things that I want to talk about they could do with their kids came from Taos. The most exciting one, I think, is what we're going to be seeing next Saturday. And Tanya can tell us a lot about this. But this is the book of what is coming out. And this project called La Tormenta de Taos, La Tormenta, I learned from coming here, means big storm. And there was a big storm that went through Taos in December that blew down the power and blew down the internet towers and all that other stuff. It's closed school for a week. But that's not the one they're talking about. They're talking about COVID, and they're talking about the impact on our health. It's the most wonderful play, and this book has all of the artwork that the students have done. It has all of the lyrics that have been done. But what we've done is we've digitized that, and we've put it on the data casting units so that the kids are able to go in and they're able to actually see the things that they need to be able to rehearse. And here we go.
Storm dance. 1, 2, 3. Group 1 runs in, captures, pulls back, turns, and crouch. Group 2 run in, capture, turn, and crouch. Run around.
So when the students are practicing at school, it's great. It's amazing that they've got a live cellist, and they've got the people with the singing, they've got the dancing, they've got the costumes, they've got everything else, and then they go home. What was I supposed to do again? How many times do I turn? So what have you found in terms of the kids and preparing this, and what do you see as the potential of the data casting, Tanya?
Well, first of all, we live in a remote area, and I think it's important for the youth, especially our students, to have access to a device like this that allows them to compress all of these videos onto one, and for them to be able to go and view, as you mentioned, the rehearsal. But more importantly, they get to see that and share that with their parents. And it also is a way for students to also feel that they participated in something that has value. And I think that's very important, especially in these times.
Yeah, I agree. And seeing, having the opportunity to see each other. When we were just at Ranchos before, and we passed out the data casting units to all the third graders that were there, and they saw the rehearsal of a different school, they were just totally captivated, because it's one thing to see grown-ups on TV, it's another thing to see your classmates on TV. So we're trying to make it so that students are creators. That's why we're so glad that we've got True Kids One working with us. This whole idea of student journalism, telling the stories of communities, having families sharing what they're doing. It's not just about putting lessons on here or tests on here or quizzes on here. It's about putting things on that will be fun and that they can learn from. And in this case, they're learning about health, their own health, community health, family health, environmental health.
And family engagement.
And family engagement.
Because of the fact that we've had families that have been interviewed as well to support their child or student that is in this play. And so that is a family engagement. And I also want to say that a lot of these students, it gives them the opportunity as well to be able to engage in a way that through COVID was very challenging. And I myself really feel that the use of this is very promising.
Thank you, Tanya. I think I agree with you entirely, and part of the wonder of this is that intergenerational piece as well. So this is the beginning of things. We're doing things now that have not been done anywhere before. We're taking a different approach that other states are looking at, and they're saying, oh, wow, we wish we'd thought of that. That's pretty cool. Can we take part in this as well? So we're all learning from each other through the relationship and community. The last thing I want to share with you is this other thing. Right here you see a book called 72 Microseasons, and the way it looks on the data casting receiver is this. What's different about it, this is a wonderful book by Betsy Williams, who's a potter in northern New Mexico. They've taken a Japanese system of looking at the seasons. They break the entire year down into 72 different seasons, and every 5 days they ask people to go out and look and see what they've observed in nature. What we've done is we've turned it into a project where people send us pictures every 5 days. They go outside. We've had pictures from Taos, from Santa Fe, from Granada, Spain, from Mexico City, from San Diego, from Chicago. It's becoming a real global phenomenon in terms of this. And then we make a webinar. So every 5 days you'll be able to join in on this, and anyone who sends a picture and the text gets a copy of the book. So you walk away with one of these things that you keep, and you can use it for your whole life. But my favorite one that's on here is one that was done by a Taos family. So I'm going to show you that. Again, this is all on the data casting receiver, so you can see that each of the 5 days there's a different tiny plate and a different haiku. And the one that I really want to share with you now is number 7. This one is called Hibernating Insects Awaken, and the haiku says, an underground house opens its front door a crack, a beetle peeks round. So this family in Taos took, on a Saturday, I asked them, would you go out and take some pictures? And they sent me back 14 pictures and a whole bunch of things. They found out later that they had taken 50 pictures, and it took them 3 hours to whittle it down to the 14 they sent. But the pictures that you're going to see here were done by a 2nd grader and a 5th grader in Taos that blew away all of the other adults who had submitted. And when the people from PBS saw this, they distributed it all over the place too. So this is an example of what one of these micro-seasons looks like. Can you see that? These were by the 2nd grader. And I'm going to stop it there now because actually we have made a website where you can see all of the content that's on the data casting receivers if you don't have one, even to help you make up your mind if this is something you'd like to do. But the invitation is there for all of our families, for the teachers, for the parents, for the students, to begin seeing what happens when we create and share together. And so that's the way, that's the why behind all of this thing. It's all about learning and making learning more engaging. Any questions or final thoughts? What do you think about what you've seen?
I'm really impressed now about what I've seen, and now that I know a little bit more about what the data casting project is about, some ideas are beginning to percolate where we can use this. in different lessons, in different classes, with class content. There's a lot of potential. And now, I know the parameters within which what to think and what is possible, and there's a lot possible.
Well, thank you very much for that. I think the biggest reward I've had is what we're calling our digital champion teachers. And these are teachers that have found creative ways to reach out to students both during the pandemic when we didn't have face-to-face, and now we can enrich that face-to-face more by making these local and global connections and having the students be the creators, not just the spectators. Gladys?
Yeah, we like also to recognize the engagement, the family engagement and the student engagement for the bilingual SEALs, the biliteracy SEALs for Spanish, French, and Tigua. Our students are going to be recorded. They will, and I believe another class is going to produce videos. We are planning approximately like 30 videos that will be part of the data casting. And what is going to be is a resource for other teachers, for other students in the future, and also for the families, because the learning was incredible. Therefore, it's right now in Taos, it's not only at the elementary, but it's also at the high school. And another part that I would like to emphasize is the integration of subjects, because I'm the family engagement coordinator, and my major role is to support literacy. But literacy is embedded in technology, in art, in all the content areas. And with this data casting, that is the message that we are also sending to families, that we are increasing literacy across the board, including the social emotional arena.
All right. Well, again, I want to thank everybody for taking the time out, for giving us this space to do it. We hope that this video is helpful for you. And as you can see, the invitation is open. You are most welcome to join us in this as we explore how can we make learning better and more effective for everybody at a community level. So thank you very much.